Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I have a small pottery studio in my basement and a small business called Mugworts. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. This week in the studio, I have made a couple different silk screens and I'll kind of go over how I do that. And here is the almost bone dry version of my mallard pattern. I'll give you a little closer up glimpse in a little bit. And I put a little duck up top that I'm going to paint after it's dry, after it's bisqued actually. And then I also did a little goose pattern. That turned out so cute. I think one of them has a goose. Well, it looks like a duck, but I'm going to paint it like a goose up here. And then I think, not for all of them, but I'm just going to write silly on a couple of them in nice bold letters in orange. So their beaks will be a little bit orange and then kind of goes with that blue pattern. And then to follow up from last week, I made that silk screen of my cardinals that I have like a mailing subscription where I'm mailing out my art every week, not every week, every month. And I decided to put it on some mugs and I painted one yesterday. So I just silk screened like a base. It almost looked like a monoprint. And then I just underglaze painted on top of it. So that's what's going on this week. So here's a closer up look at the mallard print. So essentially I use an app called Procreate on my iPad, and I watched a video tutorial on how to make a repeating pattern. So I just drew, I think, 3 different duck heads and then kind of moved them around on the page, and then followed the instructions on how to make a repeat pattern. And my little duck up here, I just molded him, smushed it around, molded him out of clay, and slipped and scored him on the handle. And here is the goose pattern. So we have light turquoise underglaze, and then a darker blue for the outside. And then I made my own color for his beak, was just Saturn orange, which is like a powdered color additive that I added to some white underglaze. There we go. I thought that was pretty cute. And then lastly, we have the cardinals. All right, here is the cardinals. So like I said, I just silk screened the base on and then painted all the tiny details. Let's see how close I can get. There we go. So now I just gotta decide what color to make the inside and the handle. But let's go see how we did this. All right, voiceover Sarah here. So to make your underglaze transfers, first you have to thicken your actual underglaze. So for my ducks, I chose this chocolate brown underglaze, and then I just add CMC powder. And it's actually, this one's a food grade one, so it's not toxic or anything. And it really just turns it into gel. And so I start with a little bit, mix it in. I usually have a like a frother that I do this with, but it broke. So now I just use a chopstick and I sprinkle in a little bit more until it's just about the consistency of like a really thick pudding. And at this point, you can pass it through a sieve to get out some of those chunks. It's not essential. I didn't do it because I mixed it pretty well. But if you feel like it's getting too chunky or you add that CMC powder too quickly, it can get lumpy. So you might want to have it's almost like a tea strainer is the one that I have, that you can pass it through that, especially if you're making small amounts. It is nice to do that so that it doesn't create any chunks. And sometimes if you do have chunks, it can tear that. It's kind of like a fragile piece of cloth coated in plastic. The blue part of that silkscreen material is, if it gets too wet and you push too hard, it can scratch off. So you do have to be gentle with it. Another tip I have discovered through making some of these is it's actually a good idea to wipe down that silk screen between each like section, because if you try to align it and it has a little bit of underglaze on the bottom, it will mess up your pattern essentially. And it's also harder to see through once you have that color on there to line up that repeating pattern. So I just took it over to my sink and took a large sponge and just wiped it off and then dried it in between. Once you've got your pattern all laid out, you can go ahead and either paint in the parts you want with underglaze, which is what I'm doing here, or you can use a colored slip. The cool thing about underglaze is that it actually sticks to the paper and you can let it dry and it can sit on your shelf basically forever, and you can use it anytime after that. If you use slip, it cracks off the page if it gets too dry. So I find that using underglaze is a little bit better when you have to like stop and go do something throughout your day. If you're going to be able to sit there and do this for hours and hours, then colored slip is a great alternative. The other thing I found with using underglaze is that it dries a little bit differently time-wise than the slip that you're going to put on top of it. So you want to let it dry naturally. I've found that if you let it dry naturally, it won't crack. And if you use a drying gun or a heat gun of any sort, the slip dries faster than the underglaze, and the underglaze will get pulled as it shrinks. As the slip shrinks, the underglaze will get pulled with it. So then it looks cracky and weird. It can be a cool effect if that's what you're going for. It actually looks pretty cool when you do it with stripes. It gives it kind of like a vintage look. So one thing I have found, if you're using straight underglaze, you will probably have to do at least 2 coats, which I do on these brown mallards. But the green color you see, I mixed up on my own using US pigments and mason stains. A lot of times I'll use like a white base of an underglaze and then add colorant to it with the mason stains and the US pigments, and then strain them out to make sure there's no chunks. And then I had also added a little bit of the CMC to that green and used it as a silk screen medium at one point. So it was a little bit thicker. And that was nice because I didn't have to go over that green a second time. But it gives you a little bit more versatility, and it can be a little bit cheaper than buying underglaze. But yeah, it's nice to create your own colors. If you want to know what that green is, I do have not necessarily a formula, but like a recipe on the color I used to mix that. And as you can see, this process does take a lot of time, but it ends up being a lot cheaper than buying glaze transfers from other websites such as Elan transfers or Sandbo. I believe I have spent like $4 or $5 per sheet on those transfers, where this, I mean, it did not cost very much money at all to kind of, I think the most expensive thing is going to be your underglaze, and how much of that you use kind of will give you the cost. But really it's just how long it takes is kind of the only downfall. And I think I will probably make these mugs a little bit higher of a price point for me, which is something I needed to have at my shows anyway, because my lower price point mugs usually just sell out right away, and then I feel like I have to hustle to make more. So this will be nice to have a little bit more inventory on my higher end products. Anyway, so once you have everything all dried and ready to go, just measure out how much you're going to need and cut it before you put the slip on. Now, this is a pretty important piece. You can't really cut a sloppy, wet piece of paper. It will just tear. So this is essential to do. Cut out exactly the shape and size you will need before you put the slip on. All right, once you have your pieces cut out, you need to go ahead and get some slip ready. Now, the slip I am using is from Katie Miller's slip transfer class. Her recipe is called Creamy White Slip, and if you want to know exactly what that is, I can leave the class link in the description for you. Essentially, it's just a bunch of powdered clay and a couple different chemicals mixed together, and it basically shrinks at a very specific rate so that it can match your clay. And the consistency of this is what I have found to be the most tricky. You would think that you would want it kind of thick, but really I've found that you want it sort of like pancake batter, like kind of thin and brushable. And if you find that it's too thin, you can always go over it a little bit once it's dried. If you go over it too much when it's wet, it will smear your images underneath, and then you have to start over or just kind of like accept what happened. Now, as they're drying, you will find that the paper has a grain to it. So you want to try to stretch out the paper a little bit once it starts setting up a little bit so that you don't get too many air bubbles once you go to put it on your mug. So to do that, you just kind of grab a corner and shake it out a little bit. Once your paper feels a little bit tacky and is almost like a leather consistency, you should be able to touch it without it sticking to your finger, but still wet enough that it isn't like dried and curling at the edges. If that happens, you can spritz the edges a little bit with water, but you go ahead and put that transfer on your mug or your dish, whatever you're making, and start from the middle. And then you want to gently push with a rubber rib from the middle to the outside so that you can start getting those bubbles out that may have formed with either when you apply the slip, if there may have been some bubbles in there, or as your paper kind of wrinkled up a little bit. It's pretty natural for that to happen. And I pretty much always have some texture on mine. I think once I get more practice, it'll be easier to get some of that texture out. I think one of the biggest things I have learned with this is to really let it dry at a slow rate, and it helps with the texture like so much. It's hard to do, and you don't want to sit around and wait for that to be done, but I would say try to be as patient as you can. You're already a potter, you know patience, and so you just got to wait for it to dry and get just the right dryness. And I think through trial and error, you will figure out how you need to test it and figure out what's good for your potter studio. Now, as you can see here, I could tell that my edges were a little bit dry. So I just use a little misting bottle and just basically push that water into it so that it sticks a little bit more. And I have actually peeled back the paper before, and if it's sticking to the paper, you can spritz the clay as well, and that will help to get it to stick. But just be careful with this, because if you get that underglaze too wet, it will bleed, especially when you're kind of like moving it around with that rubber rib. Once you're happy with the consistency and the feel, if there's no more bubbles, you can test taking the paper back. And if you find any pieces that are still stuck to the paper, you can just wrap it back on and rub with that rib again. You can also take like a wooden roller and try rolling it on a little bit and see what works for you. Like I said before, you can just get it a little bit more wet to try to get that slip to adhere back onto the mug, and just kind of take it as it goes. It's all, like I said, a little bit of trial and error. So you got to figure out what's working and what's not working. And I think the best part is the reveal. I mean, once you get it down, it's really fun every time you go to unwrap it, that you can see all of your hard work getting stuck on that mug, and hope that everyone else can appreciate all that you've put into it. I will say that I think the bottom and the top edges, and then the edges where you start and finish, I think are the trickiest part to get off, but just take your time and really push as much as you can to get that to adhere. And the edges are the driest part, so just maybe use a little bit more water. The other hard part is when you overlap those two pieces. If you want to do your entire mug, the bottom section is a little bit harder to like use your red rib to smoosh on there because you have another layer on top of it. So one thing I would suggest is, like, as you're putting it on, make sure you adhere that first bottom part like before you wrap the entire mug, because once you get that layer on top of it, it's a little bit harder to make sure that that is correctly adhered. Now, if you don't want to put the entire image around the mug, or you don't want to deal with the overlapping parts, you can just leave a little space for the handle, like I am doing here. And it actually helps when you go to attach your handles, so that you don't smear that image. And I have found that when you try to slip and score a handle on top of the image, it really doesn't adhere as well as if you would do it straight clay to clay. One really dumb Potter thing that I did this week was I found out that that little pile of slip that I have up there is not actually slip, and it is Amico snow that I put into a squeeze bottle and put right next to my porcelain slip. So I put these under plastic overnight, and the next day I came to kind of smooth them out again and make sure everything was drying correctly. And I found that 4 of my handles fell off, and I could not figure out why until I went to go do a different thing with slip and realized that my squirt bottle was full of Amico snow, and it clearly said it right on the bottle, and I still just, I didn't even notice. So that sucked. So I took all of these handles off the next day, scraped all of that glaze off, and reattached all of them with actual slip. So that was my bad. Anyway, we are getting close to the end of the video here, and it's warming up a little bit in Michigan, so I was able to run that bisque load this week, and it looks like it's going to be relatively warm every now and then. So hopefully I can get these into a bisque load really soon and then decide what I want to do with the glazing. Like I said, I am going to paint the little ducks on top to match, and I think they will probably be my new favorite thing that I've ever made, and I want to do all kinds of ducks, and I'm obsessed with ducks and birds in general. So I think we're just going to have like a bird year this year. I bought a couple molds, and I am making duck bookends and all kinds of duck things. So stick around to see what I do next. Thanks for joining. Bye.